So she talked about the path to totality. Was that it? I think I want to try that path sometime. Let's see. Is my microphone on? I can't tell. Is it working? Yeah. All right. Let's do it then. Now I painted a birdhouse next to my driveway and got a painted pole and decorated the top. And we had some chickadees move in, and then they were kind of bossy little guys, and they left. And then the bluebird family showed up and did some renovations. They like more straw than moss, so they moved in. And then just a couple of days ago, there was a baby bird sticking his head out the hole, and I took a picture. And then I went by yesterday or so, and they were all gone. So I wrote a little jingle about it. Oh, the baby birds have flown away. Oh, the baby birds have flown away. Oh, there's nobody at home, no one on the telephone. Oh, the baby birds are flying away. And they ain't coming back either. And I'm real happy that I got a clear bottle and a clear podium, because I want to keep things together. Now, I'll tell you something else. Recently, they make a lot of movies in Atlanta, a lot of TV shows. And I recently got to be part of one, which I was real happy about. And I don't know how many people have seen it, but if it's okay with you, I'm going to play about 20, 30 seconds of it. It's a good icebreaker. Let's try it. Serious.
If it's okay with you guys, I'd like to do 30 seconds of Goose Listen.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Ducks seem more jolly to me.
Right.
The geese have more anger. I think it's because the long neck.
Yeah, I think 20 seconds is actually enough.
Okay.
They're very, very aggressive. You couldn't even handshake a goose or hug a goose.
No.
Please don't hug a goose. All right, so this talk is an artist talk, and I don't know the official way to give an artist talk, so I'm just going to give you a talk that I came up with. So I named it Thinking a Lot, or Thinking a Lot Without Thinking Too Much. And I don't have many notes, but I'm going to read a few of them to you. It also could be called Maybe I'm an Overthinker. It also could be called Maybe If I Didn't Think So Much, I Could Get Something Else Done with My Life. If I didn't think so much about things I couldn't control, I could be a normal man. But instead of being a regular normal man, I got a long hairdo and a werewolf beard. I got paint on my clothes. I've devoted my life to making things by the road and painting things for different kind of people. I come up here and talk to y'all and tell you stories, and in front of everybody I'm trying to figure out who and what I am. And maybe I can't tell you how things work or the answers definitively to everything, but I can show you what I do, and I can show you things I like and things I think about and dwell on. And so I kind of want to start it out with some guys I like. So there's a guy I like. And then there's a prom. I don't know much about him, but I do like him. And in third grade, I had a gym teacher that I liked, and he showed us how to wrestle. He was Coach Flair, and there was an assistant coach that helped him, Coach Rhodes. And for a minute, I just want you to look at that man. That is an interesting specimen of humanity. And there's another fella I grew up liking. And where we moved now, I've got a barn. And I really had fear one night that the werewolf man was in there. I heard a sound and my dog started barking in my head. When I felt fear, I thought this guy was out there. And I knew a guy growing up, a dad of a friend of mine, and we went to a church function together and were swimming in a lake. And he went underwater and came back up, and his hairdo it didn't move. It looked just like that. There's another wolf man I like. I always liked Beetlejuice. And then I also liked old-timey Santa Claus. And I thought it's not often you see Beetlejuice and Santa Claus together. I like those two fellas and some of the mess they got into. I like this guy that drives the truck here, old Cletus Snow, and he could sing real good too and play a guitar better than anybody else. And this fella right here, he was old Bandit Man. I liked him, and I even liked that guy that used to chase him around. Even though, like he said, he was an old scum bum. Now, here's an artist I like, Chagall, and I found out about him after I had started painting some goats and things, and somebody referenced him, and I was kind of amazed because he's, well, in a whole nother world and league to me, but he painted some similar dreamy things in the sky and flying goats and faces and neat colors. This guy right here, I think he had some brain troubles too, and I enjoy learning about him from time to time and just seeing a different artistic struggle. Mr. Miro, I like his shapes. I found I like a lot of Spanish art and art from down in South America. And this fellow was in South America, and I didn't know about him until he passed away, unfortunately. He was 91, but he came from Uruguay, and his name was Valaro. But his drawings and paintings really strike a tone with me. And this is not a guy I know, but George O'Keeffe, her freedom and the things that she painted in her life really inspire me. This fella, he's up in Philadelphia now, and he makes some really neat things. Zagar is his last name, and we went to see his crazy world he had made out of kind of a trash heap, and then they embraced it. This fella I felt really connected to, and I'm saying fella, it's guys, these guys. Anyway, this fella right here lived out in the desert, and he built his own mountain and got really tan. And you can't argue with a man that built his own mountain. And his last name is Knight, Leonard Knight. And then this fella was gone a long time ago. His name is Simon Rodia, and kind of like things in my mind, but he's actually done it in a good way. But he built the Watts Towers that are in LA, and I've never been there, but I'm going to talk a little more about things that point up to the sky and the heaven and beyond our reach. I like that guy. I like that gal. I like that one too. And I even like a guy that looks like that. I don't have tattoos, but that might be a good one. And then that's me right there. And that's at our 1-year-old home out at Arabian Mountain. And that's my fine bride. She moved out there with me. And I put that sign up down the road because I kept getting confused as to how to get back to my driveway. So, and it's not up there now, and I keep just wandering around at night. Now I want to talk about inspirations and things I think about. And I want to tell you first, this lettering style right here, I made it, the one up top. And it's new to me. I'll paint out letters and write them and then put them in the computer and use them in other things. But this came from a friend of mine that drifts around from New Orleans to a tugboat off the coast of Alaska. But he sent me this the other day from New Orleans. And it's an actual handmade ad, like photocopied. And I don't eat meat. But I was taken with this. I mean, it says coon, coon, and more coon. They sell alligators and snapping turtles and nutria and gar and everything you could think of and don't want to think of. But this folky hand-done lettering, I was taken with it. It's amazing. So I made that, and oddly enough, a week ago, I made a shirt that came out with Atlanta Braves, and I used that lettering on it. It said Atlanta Braves with that man, whoever he was, his styled letters. So I want to talk about some other things that inspire me. And I hope that this is making you laugh as I go through all my tales. Feel free to heckle or laugh, whatever you want to do. So that's some water as I'm drinking some. I poured some out the other day on my driveway and it formed that shape. And I found it mighty interesting. One, just the shape it made. And it kind of looks like some things I've tried to paint. And I like seeing things in the sky and the clouds. But I want to talk about water. You see, water, you can see in it. You can see that oak tree up there. You can see the sky. It takes on light on the edges. We need it to drink, to make food, or to cook food, to stay alive, to wash ourselves. We can make a boat and travel someplace in it. But also, you can drown and be dead because of the water. See, good, you laugh. Another one's fire. And this was in the back of our new property, and we were cleaning it up, and I just thought that was crazy with the kind of 3 tongues of fire. And I'm going to talk about spirits a little bit too, and they kind of dancing around like a spirit. Did something to the back of my head right there. And then fire can bring us together. We can stare at it in awe. Fire can cook for us, heat us. The world is really propelled by heat, fire from the sun, but once again, it can burn you up and kill you. But it's inspiring to me. This is the inside of a plant, or maybe it's not. It's actually a somatic. And a somatic is tones vibrated through a substrate like sand or something, and they'll resonate with these tones. And as they shift the tone, the vibration will change it to look different. And when I see this, though, I see a plant, I see a flower, I see a planet, I see an eyeball. This looks like a snowflake. That's something I painted. This is patterns made on the bottom of a sandy lake or river by a Japanese pufferfish. There he is. He's puffing, and he scoots around there, works on it for like a week to make this intricate pattern, this perfect looking piece of art. But it's just like that other stuff. How does that happen? I don't know. Spider web, isn't that similar? And at the same time, think about who's making these little creatures. Now, I'm a novice orchid grower. I don't have too many plants, and I definitely do not know all the ins and outs of orchids, but I have got a few to bloom, and I love trying them. And this was one last summer that was opening for me, and I'm just blown away and captivated by how all that can be inside that bloom that just grows out of nothing, and then boom, it opens up, and it's just got that magic inside. And then it opened up and looked like that. And I'll try to impress you. I don't know Latin or any of the regular names, but this is a Cattleya Equilab forbicii, if you want to tell anybody that. But the balloon died and fell off. These are carpenter ants. Carpenter ants are pretty small, but for ants, they're pretty big. And I like carpenter ants better than other ants because you can pick them up and they won't really hurt you. But here they are, a couple of them playing with the old pupa, passing it around. A little past the old pupa. But I wanted to talk about these with that spider and with the bees and with all these other small creatures, because I think about the size of intellect. How big is intellect? We think we're pretty big, but we're not pretty big. When you back out and look at the earth, you can't even see us. And compared to stuff like an elephant or a blue whale, we're pretty small. But the intellect, I'm not so sure anymore intellect is actually in the creature. Maybe it hovers around. Maybe it flows around. Because think about like a honeybee. Now, I'm an artist, I say, but I'd have a hard time making a hexagon shape just right. But those bees can make these huge, immense structures that are just perfect out of geometric shapes like that, and that spider web. And the ants work together. But where is that brain in them? Because if they have that much sense in a tiny, tiny ant head, then I don't know what I'm doing with the rest of mine. But I think about that. And I get interested in patterns in nature. This is green goblin skin. That's not, it's a plant. It's the back of a leaf with the veins running through it. And those veins to me look a lot like a crack in a sidewalk. Also looks like a riverbed from up in an airplane. And it also looks like that river. And that kind of looks like a flow or something. Kind of like maybe something inside your arm or your body. That's the Louisiana River Delta. And don't you think it looks like this? I do. I'm going to gargle some water. The other day, I make fancy coffee because I'm a fancy man, and I make a French press, and I put this saucer on top of it, and that pattern came out. And I thought, man, that is an amazing pattern. It kind of looks like lizard scales. And then his eyeball kind of looks like the earth. Here we go again. And that ball just floats around, and I'm always thinking about why it won't turn over. And I think about how they say we're in space, but we're not. We're in the middle of nothing. There's nothing out there. You go outside the earth a little bit, and you'd have to go a long way for anything, except maybe a little trash floating around. But all that rotates right. All that goes in the right way. It doesn't turn over. It doesn't go backwards one night. Even though we think it's hot, it doesn't get too hot or too cold. It's kind of amazing to me. You got that again. You got the sun. That's my version of the sun. But it looks like all those other things I try to emulate are reflected in other things. And then the sun comes in your window sometimes, and the light is just right every now and then. And it's the same sun, but it looks so much different. And it makes you really feel a certain way. So there's the sun over some mountains. And speaking of mountains, as a boy that grew up in the south of the U.S., I don't really have any mountains, so I've always been a little bit jealous of people out there in the west, in Nevada and Colorado. But we do have big old thunderstorms. And to me, sometimes those are even more magnificent because they form out of nothing, and then they're gone. And they got power in them and weight. And they can destroy stuff, and they help people out, I guess, if they rain on them. But then in a few hours, they don't exist anymore. But I like things like that reach up into the sky, such as Devil's Tower. And I've never been there, but I want to go one day. And I like things that point to the sky, and I think it's probably because it's a little bit above us. It's a little bit more than what we can normally attain. It leads our eyes up to other things. It separates us. And even something that's 15, 20 feet tall, I don't ever get up that high. The other day I got to go into a fire tower up above the trees, 100 feet or so, and at first I was scared to death. But you just saw this sea of green, and the wind was different, and it was like I was on a whole different planet. So there's something about being up high, but I've always had a fascination with totem poles and the art of native folk from the Northwest Pacific area up near Alaska and Washington. Almost, here we go. Anyway, but the art, the way it's stacked up, the faces, the spirits involved, just something about them. So a while back I attempted my own, and it was called the Monument to Good Times. And I got my brother-in-law, he didn't know what he was getting into, to help me put it up. But that was trying to kind of emulate that same thing, and I'm going to make more of those. That was just a prototype. My mother-in-law helped me do the other side. It was in Spanish, or maybe that one's in Spanish. All right, there we go. I like smiley faces, and I paint them because they smile back at me and make me happy. I keep making them, and part of me whole painting in general is to make me feel better because it does something inside my brain. There's some more. And it makes me smile a while. Now, they're paying me all this money to get up here to tell you about Hambidge, so we better get on that. So Hambidge, or land of the tree spirits. So Kate told us a little bit about Hambidge, and I appreciate it because that's the official word. I was lucky enough to go to Hambidge in early March, and I didn't know much about it. I'd heard of it, but that's about all I knew. But I knew I liked the mountains and being by myself sometimes in nature, so I was in for a treat. And And there's a picture from, I think, the 1930s of some ladies that had been hired. This is called the Weave Shed. And Mary Hamage that started it organized folks to work, and they made things out of wool, I believe, and other fibers, and they'd ship them to Madison Avenue in New York and other places like that. But it became this community, and she reached out to artists and had, I don't know how many acres to start with, but about 600 now. And here's that building now. I took a picture of it, and I stayed up on the hill up there behind it, and now it's a gallery and some offices. But those women are still kind of hanging around there somewhere. And that was where I stayed, Fisher Studio. And I had that whole building to myself, and I had real big windows on the other side, and looked up at just the woods and nature, and deers went by. If you see in the window there, I took a Santa Claus with me. I had found him on the driveway for free, so he went with me. I don't put out decorations at Christmas, I just do that in March. So I stayed there and painted. It's very isolated, a lot of solitude. That took a little getting used to. I broke away. They have elaborate hiking trails, so I spent a lot of times in the woods when I couldn't think of what to paint, because the trail started right there by my studio. So I climbed the mountain that's actually encompassed by their property. It's called Owen Mountain, and it didn't have like a bald part to it, but I could see out a real long way. And like all good mountaineers, I took my old wooden hammer, which was an accident. Really, I just kept going. I didn't plan on climbing the mountain that time, but it came in handy. And they got pretty creeks and streams, and there was me in my studio showing the hammer was that big. But it was a nice spot, and it actually snowed in March, so I put Santa out there, and that's for real picture, not Photoshop. But as far as what I started to see and feel, I'm glad you're laughing so much up here. I started to see these shapes. I'm going to use my pointer here. And so notice these these bulbs, these things on a tree. There's a little better photo. I started seeing them everywhere. And you just look for the contour. And later I came up with an analogy. I thought they seemed like putting a bunch of oranges down in some pantyhose. Or onions. I remember people might doing that. And maybe instead of tree spirits, it was the onion pantyhose spirit. So there's another one. And some of those are like what they call burls, which is, I was told, was like a cancer. And they'll use that wood in like luxury things like a yacht or a fancy Lincoln Town Car or something. But there was multiple ones, and I just saw them all over. And I even saw where beavers had worked, and they had that same shape. A lot of beaver activity up there, although I saw no beavers walking by. And then as far as trees go, there was a big storm one night, a big thunderstorm, and it woke me up. And then on one of my walks a few days later, I found this tree, must have been 80 feet tall. And it had this lightning strike that had gone down 3 ways around it and ripped off all the bark in this ribbon. And I followed it all the way down, and it went right in the ground, and it had splintered off baseball bat-sized pieces of this, maybe that's hickory or poplar, I'm not sure. But just the power of that was really, really amazing to be there by myself in the woods. So these trees began to talk to me. And we had to leave a note for somebody else to come along, so I drew that and said I'd been listening to the tree spirits. So that gave me my inspiration when I got there as to what I wanted to work on, because at first I didn't know. I took all these canvases. And so that was just me painting to prove I was there. But you can see that thing on that canvas was kind of like a totem. And this was just to make you laugh. I tried to take a portrait of me working, but this was one of the ones that didn't work so well, and I just looked angry and homeless there. But you can see some of the progress shots. And then you see, look again with the contour, I started kind of feeding off the woods there in my walks and building these tree spirits up. Now, this is all. I'm also here because I've got a current show up the hill with Mr. Spalding Nix. And I want to talk to you about the work that I made real quick and how I came about it. And the show is called A Bowl Full of Happiness. So I just kind of want to go through some of those paintings and show you chronologically what I dealt with. So I went up there and I took a bunch of canvases. And normally, I don't like canvas so much because it's too clean, it's too perfect. I enjoy painting on maybe something that's had a past life, a little bit roughness and texture built in. And but I dirtied them up. I threw paint at them before I went, let stuff run down them, give them a little bit of character. But when I got there, I started painting, and I painted this one, and there it is as a whole. And so I started with this, and that's kind of feeling like I was, and it's even got that little bit of a shape in it. It was based off a sketch. And then I painted some fish, which was a little bit different than the rest, but it came to be I wanted to paint on black because I like the way a dry brush would drag across that black color and leave just a little remnant. And so I painted that there too, and it was called Dark Current. Then I went on from that, and I began to paint something based on a sketch, but it's very totemish, if you will. There's the whole thing, and that's like those towers. It's like that totem pole. It's faces stacked, reaching up to the sky. And I'll mention words that I use. A lot of them I just write down as they come to me. They just pop in my head, and I go with it. You know, every once in a while I'll say, well, maybe that wasn't my thought, or I don't like that word. But I just write stuff. Maybe it bounces off a wall and I hear it different. But I wrote boy, boy, girl, girl, and then marked one of them out. But then the tree spirits came around, and I made this solely up there, and it starts to reflect that. You can see that shape again, the oranges in the pantyhose. And this was also painted on black, so I was playing off of that idea. I'd paint a color background, and then I painted the silhouettes in black, and then built up layers over that. This was kind of new to me, that the way the colors work together. Sometimes I just paint things to make me happy purely, and I had a drawing on a doodle pad of these little guys with long noses, so I just started painting them on black. And I don't know why, because I don't eat much cake, but I just want to like sometimes like smell the cake, like at a box cake, and maybe like feel the cake. And I like birthday parties, so I put a cake on there. There's like a whole wing of a mental hospital with people that just want to like rub on a cake. I don't know what that is. Don't ask too many questions about that. And Spalding tonight didn't know it, but he wore I was going to mention this snake and how happy I was with the snake, and I'd like a belt that was made like that snake. And he's got a belt on that looks almost just like that snake. It's kind of remarkable. So there's the whole thing, and that's the Pitiful Youthful Souls. And that does sound like a good band name now that I think about it. They couldn't get a record deal, though. So I got my shapes working here, and this to me seemed almost like some sort of fungus. And I just love the way the pink was laid over the black. And sometimes I'll come back and try to do something again, duplicate a look and feel. And I think it's a blessing, but I really have a hard time. I can't. If you held a gun in my head and said, duplicate this, I could probably do pretty good. But just going forward and working on it, it always evolves a little. And I think that's good because it takes me down new ways. So this is called Son of Man, and it's those totems again and those tree spirits. And down at the bottom, it's more along the earth. And then we got the heavens up here. And those shapes, those suns. I got deep names. This one's called Lemon. Same kind of thing, kind of plants on the bottom and the heavens and the skies. But with this one, I struggled with it. I had an idea when I started and sat there angry at it a long, long time. But it turned out all right. My wife says she liked that one the best. We always got to have a favorite. And I wanted to say about Hamage, though, it's remarkable because you spend all this time alone, and at first it was a little scary to be left that alone for that much time. And interesting, too, kind of like a challenge with yourself. And I stayed there a little less than 2 weeks. There was a couple people there that had been there a month, and I thought, there's no way. But by the time I was ready to leave, I thought I might could try that. But you'd come together for communal dinners, and you talk about what you were making and working on, and then people went away, and and then you're by yourself again and just think about whatever you were thinking about. I thought about coffee and soup a lot. I made a lot of soup and drank a lot of coffee. This one I painted when I came back. It's baby blue. And I just love this, this black mountain man over here. That's not maybe what you think of when a mountain man. But there it is, and everything's connected together again with the crow in the sky and the plants on the ground, the hidden beast in the woods. Kind of a ode to one of my bears here, but not really. I like yard sales. You can get free Santa Clauses. This was one of the bigger pieces from the show, and it was the same kind of thing, more of a landscape. And the only thing I had before was the Santa-esque person in the middle. And my mom had come over, and this was sitting up against the wall, and she's like, "Tell me about this whale." I'm like, "That's not a whale, that's his hat." But he could be a whale too. He could be a whale too. It's really all right. Everybody loves a yard sale. But I'd like to make some fabric patterns out of some of these color schemes here. That's one of my goals one day. Maybe have a pair of pants with pointy people on them. This was the biggest piece from the show and one of the last, but it was also a landscape, kind of boulders and people on the boulders looking out over a vista. It's called Buena Vista, alone in the wilderness, with some pointy people out there. And this one came from a sketch I had done, and that's the sketch. That's my thumb. But so sometimes I work like that. I'll just take an idea and go with it. Other times it's a process that I get waist deep in and then not know what to do. This was inspired by all those beavers I saw walking around the woods at Hambidge. Thank you. I really like this one too, and I struggled with it because I liked it, but I wasn't wild about it. And then right toward the end, I think it needs a little red. And when I did that, I'm like, no, I really like it. So that kind of tied it all together for me. But I see all this stuff, and I don't know if you do, but I see it rotating and undulating and kind of throbbing and doom, like that. In my head, that's what I hear. And I don't animate. I want some spinning and some bouncing and some like that.
Can you do that again?
The dooch, like that. Is that good? All right. I'm aiming to please. This one, I got a little video to go with it. Oh, that reminds me. It's a loud video. This was based on some of those same ideas, mixed in with a very strange Jacques Cousteau. And the Jacques Cousteau came from drawings we did with some friends. Right after Hambidge, I went to the beach for a weekend, stayed with some people that were there for a week. They kicked us out. But they had all these books, Jacques Cousteau books on the table, and me and my friend Peter, who's a good artist, we started drawing them, and it made them weirder and weirder, and we just make one after the other and laugh at them. And then we got our wives involved, and then their two boys sat in on one session of Jacques, and we made 50 or 60. So this was kind of a crazy nod to that. But when we left, he made a little video compilation of the Jacques, so I thought you might like to laugh at this one.
Ocean man, take me by the hand, lead me to the land that you understand. Ocean man, the voyage to the corner of the globe is a real trip. Ocean man, the crust of a tan man who by the sand, soaking up the thirst of the land. Ocean man, can you see through the wonder of amazement at the open man? Ocean man, the crust is elusive when it casts forth to the childlike man. Ocean man, the sequence of a life form raised in the sand, soaking up the thirst of the land. Ocean man.
There they go. And then I had just a few more I'll show you, but this was a little looser one. I painted it in a few sessions. I stood out in the sun, And it's those same things, those organic shapes, those towers, those totems, linked in with all this other stuff that makes me happy. And I used a silver paint that was out of a can, a spray can, and let it run down, and then would paint it in the hot sun so it would dry fast, but had a little bit different look and feel. Timing was a little different. I didn't ponder it quite as long. And this one was kind of like an explosion. It's called Lord, oh Lord, have mercy on me, please. But it was a whole big kind of explosion of ideas and things linked together. And that was also one I almost didn't turn into the show. And then the last minute, I kind of got mad at it and kind of deconstructed and reworked it. And that one found a home already. So I'm glad I brought it with me. And this was one of the last ones, just showing that same kind of build up of all those things I had worked through, all those tree spirits in the woods. The woods were not that colorful at Hamage, I'll tell you that, but when they went through my brain, they were. And then this one was the last one I did, a tall, thin piece. And it's got a black mountain coming up and going into the sky. I split it there in half so you could see it. But I like that one. I'm proud of that one. But just kind of all those things in there together. Now, some artists can paint for a long time and it stay the same, and they do the same kind of thing, and I guess that's admirable. But I'm kind of happy about the way I can't hold on to the current situation, and things drift and morph and evolve. And I'll be painting bears for a long time, but I don't want them to look the same. So I'm happy about that. Now, I'm going to tell you just a little bit last little session, just things I think about, thoughts along the way. And really, this is more of a meditative, is that a word? Meditative? It's things I think about. It's more for me, but I hope you can benefit from them too. So these pictures just kind of are there to look at during my talk, but simple. Smiles are simple. I like being simple. Joy is simple. Simple can be good. There's an artist out of California named Chris Johansson, and I heard him do a little talk, and he talked about him making simple art. And I thought, well, that's good. I said, it doesn't have to be so complex. I mean, if you can paint your picture perfect, that's good. That's a mighty skill. But at the same time, you could capture all the feelings and emotions you want to with something simple. Honesty. I want to be honest with myself. I want to be honest with myself about who I am, where I came from, where I might be going, and that's difficult. Sometimes you have to drop all these things in your head, or ego thoughts. Or I was sitting over there in the corner for a minute and people were coming in and I kind of zoned out. And I thought, oh, shoot, they're here to hear me talk. But I want to be honest about, what's going on with myself. Humbleness. I want to be humble with you. No matter what I do or things that happen good for me or not for me, I think it's important as an artist, as somebody who's a visual communicator, to be humble. There's a lot of people that are hung up on themselves, or have a whole mess of ego, or want to be so serious. And even if you paint serious stuff, you don't have to be serious. You be serious sometimes, but with the people that support me and like what I do, I just want to stay humble as I can. I think it's a good thing to hold on to. A while back, my dad had told me not to apologize. And now if I went out there and stomped on your foot, I'd tell you I'm sorry. So not like that. But don't apologize for who I am. Too long I've been down on myself or down about things that have happened, or who I am or what I do sometimes. But I want to be proud. I want to not say I'm sorry that happened, or I'm ashamed of my past. It's all part of it. It's the fertilizer that makes the tree grow. That's a pretty good one. Now, spirits. I like spirits. I like to think about spirits. And I think we're all spirits on the inside. And we see spirits in different ways, or feel them, or maybe influenced by thoughts by them. The fire, the water, a whisper in your ear. I think we're all connected by a beauty that that we might not even know about, things that make us work together. For instance, sometimes when I think about somebody, might not have thought about them for a long time. Lo and behold, 3 hours later, the evening of the day, they'll call me. They'll send me a text or email. And I don't know how that happens, but it's pretty amazing to me. E minor. I used to play a lot of music, and I always liked the minor chords, and I kind of feel like my life would be written in a minor chord. And I just I'd hear a song, oh, I like the way that sounds. And when I'd study it a little bit, I thought, that's a minor chord. So that's what I think I am. The sun and the moon. I want to appreciate every sunrise that's pretty, and every time I see the big full moon come up over the trees, I want to appreciate it. I want to soak it all up. He was trying to soak it all up. The yellow, yellow light of the summer night, the evening so bright, left him feeling lightheaded. He was trying to soak it all up. And that's what I want to do. I think you should too. Go out there and look at that moon coming up next time. Now, I don't understand everything, but it's okay if you don't understand. That doesn't make the creation or what you're looking at or confused about any less great, any less creative. You could just enjoy it for what it is. You don't have to understand every little bit about it. And I think that's important all through life. Thankful. I want to be thankful. Thankful for where I am now. Thankful for everybody that's come out this evening. Because you didn't have to, and you're probably real hungry, and you can get that dinner in a minute. But I thank you for being here and appreciating art. And then lastly, just passion. Because passion is really important. And I think that we should hold on to our passion. Should embrace our passion. Because passion comes out in different ways. It pushes us to do things that are important. It goes through us and creates things that other people can benefit from. Such as a short pole alert. Passion comes out in different ways. You cry, you fight, you yell, you laugh, you make up, you kiss them on the cheek. It's the passion of color. And color goes through all these things, and there's one kind of a totem pole. So listen here, people. All y'all. You listen to what I got to say. You see that spirit? It's all around us. The Spirit's here every day. So let that sun shine down and let us soak up every ray, because life is short and real beautiful if you look at it with one eye. So forget all this silliness, you egotists. Forget all this fluff. We have each other, and don't you think that should be enough? So listen here, people. Listen to what I got to say. The Spirit's all around us in every which way. Thank y'all.